We all seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course, I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state. I need to be in that. That is your answer. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy and they seek the happiness. If you really think about our life, we are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again. We are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we are pursuing happiness, we are chasing and we are seeking for happiness, but yet we have not found it. So, what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We are seeking it, we are finding for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we are finding or we are seeking this happiness from a source that the happiness does not exist. Because we are seeking happiness from external world. We are seeking happiness from these materialistic things. Well, when you seek happiness from materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure, but that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification. But in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the contentment about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you're finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So, will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answers this question. He says, yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dhammapada, Buddha says, if one with an impure mind speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him like a cartwheel following the ox. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse, Buddha says, if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pure, we can find the happiness. So, how can we find or how can we gain this purity in our mind in order to find the happiness? Well, Buddha teaches us there are a lot of things that you can do to make your mind pure. So today, I'm going to share with you a few things that can give you the happiness in your life, that you can find the happiness in your life. First thing, accepting the reality of life will give you the happiness. You know, life is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we have beautiful memories, sometimes we also have miserable memories. So life is not something that is going equally every day. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When you realize this reality, you can face these situations successfully. Right? It is not always this bad experience makes us frustrated. It is our reaction towards this bad experience makes us frustrated. Whenever you get a bad experience or a bad day or a bad situation, tough situation, difficult situation, you have two choices. Either you can focus on the pain and feel miserable about that situation, or you can focus on the lesson that bad situation teaches us and learn from it and start growing your life. So, if you accept the reality of life, it is not temporary. Sometimes the people around us are not in our control. We cannot control their reactions. We cannot control their opinions. So when you realize these situations, you can face those situations successfully. That is one thing, accepting reality of the life. Number 2, Buddha said, be generous. Practicing generosity is a major practice in Buddhism. Well, in Buddhism, the generosity is known as dāna. In dāna, Buddha says that you have to give without any expectations. We have to give and we have to dedicate towards others without expecting anything in return. That is one thing that we have to practice. Most of the time, we like to hold on to things or gather the things towards us. That is what people think. When you gather more, when you collect more things, you will get rich and you will gain happiness. But that does not give you the happiness. It will give you the pleasure, but it is temporary. So what we have to do, Buddha says, be generous, give, help others, dedicate a part of your life on behalf of others. When you do that, when you become more generous, let's say like this, you gave some foods to a poor person, let's say like that. When you see that person is having those foods and overcoming his hunger and making his life much better, you can be happy by seeing that. When you become happy like that, you feel happy about yourself. Right? Nothing can give you that happiness. Like by eating a good food, by dressing a nice dress, you cannot gain that happiness. You don't feel happy about yourself. Right? Let's say after hundred of years later, maybe 10 decades later, when you think about that incident, I gave this food to this poor person. When you remind that, you feel happy. Even then you feel happy. That means happiness is long-lasting. So Buddha says, be generous, help people, do something nice every day for a person. That is one thing we can do. And number 3, forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most important things that we can do to create happiness in our life. We have to forgive ourselves. Also, we have to forgive others too. Because forgiving, when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you are saying okay to others' mistakes. It's okay. No, you're not saying like that. When you forgive, you make your heart free. So when you forgive, it's not for that person, it is for you. And also we have to forgive for ourselves. There are so many mistakes that we all have done in the past. If you hold on to past, and if you make this present moment miserable, that will not give you the happiness. So what do we have to do? Whatever the bad thing that we have done in the past, we have to have this ability to forgive ourselves and start all over again. We all have that ability, right? We all have that privilege to start our life again and make it a better one. Okay? So no one is perfect in this world. We all have done mistakes. One thing that we have to do is to forgive and start doing good things. So these are 5 things that we can do to create happiness in our life. And also, there is one happiness that is called the ultimate happiness in this world that the Buddha teaches us. That is called Nibbāna or Nirvana. That is the enlightenment. When you realize about the reality of this life, and when you remove this desire or the craving that arises within your mind, then Buddha says that is the ultimate happiness. Simply, the Nibbāna means rāgakkayo, dosakkayo, mohakkayo, Nibbāna. That means removing of the desire, anger, and the delusion of the mind is called the enlightenment. So that is the highest level of happiness that we all can reach. So when you practice these practices, right, when you engage yourself in wholesome state, that will create you the happiness in the life. So practice these things and make your life a happier one. A quick question. Are you having sleepless nights because of these heavy loads of thoughts that are coming and looping inside your mind? Or are you someone who is imagining the worst case scenarios all the time whenever you're going to do something new? Or are you someone who is worrying about what other people will think of me? Well, if you are such a person, you might be overthinking. So let's find out a way that where we can get out of our head and quit overthinking and get the works done. So what we can do for this? Well, the first and the foremost thing that you have to do is to realize that overthinking is not going to help you in the process, right? You can plan, you can analyze, but do not overdo it. If you are over-planning, if you are over-analyzing, it's not going to help you, right? It will distract you from the process. The first thing that you have to realize is that overthinking is not going to help you. The second thing, you can practice to be mindful. Now, this is a practice that you can do to stop overthinking, to be mindful, to practice the mindfulness. So how can we practice the mindfulness? So there are many ways that our great teacher Supreme Buddha taught us to be mindful. One of them is to be mindful about the breathing pattern, which we call anapanasati. Right? When you become more mindful about this inhale and exhale, your mind instantly comes to the present moment. Right? Now you're only thinking about inhale and exhale. You're being mindful about that. Now, instantly, you reduced these thousands and thousands and looping thoughts to two thoughts. What are those two thoughts? Inhale and exhale. So when you're thinking like that, and when you become mindful, normally, automatically, you will find the peacefulness and you will stop overthinking about these things, right? So whenever you catch yourself overthinking, what you have to do, take 3 deep breaths in and out, right? And just stay for a while by being mindful about your breathing pattern. Or you can be mindful about your body, right? You can ask from yourself that, how am I sitting now, right? What am I doing now? When you ask these things from yourself, you can answer these things like, I'm sitting now. You can recognize. When you do these things, you can be mindful. If you're mindful, your mind is in the present moment. And when your mind is in the present moment, your mind is in the peacefulness. There's a saying, and it goes like this. If you're sad, then your mind is in the past. If you're anxious, your mind will be in the future. But if you are peaceful and if you are still, your mind is in the present moment. So start living in the present moment, right? When you live in the present moment, when you live right here, right now, you can be more peaceful and you can stop these overthinking patterns, right? And also, there's another part of overthinking. What is that? The what if question, right? So many people ask from them that, what if this happened? What if this not happens, right? What if everything that I did was wrong? They are constantly thinking about these things like that, right? They are imagining these worst case scenarios. So, I must say something about that, right? So, if you're thinking this what if question again and again, you can ask from yourself, what if everything that I did was okay? You can be positive. What if everything that I've planned and I've done was really great? So that can happen. There is always many possibilities for your plans to go okay. So don't be negative. Always think, I'm not going to be perfect, right? I cannot be perfect, but I can be the best version of myself. I can do my best. I must do my best. And be positive and go for it and take risks. Without taking risks, we cannot be successful in our lives. So practice these things, right? Be more mindful, right? Be more kind to yourself. And always think that if I overthink, if I constantly worry about myself, it will kill the peacefulness of my life. So I hope this video gave some light to your life. So be peaceful and be mindful and get out of your head and start doing the works that you haven't done. Still, I can remember this incident. When I was little, when I was at school, one of my teachers came to our noisy classroom and she asked from us, do you know why you have given 2 ears and 1 mouth? Then she said, the reason why we have given 2 ears and 1 mouth is to talk less and to listen more. Ladies and gentlemen, when we deal with people in our relationship life, in your family life, in your workspace, if you have this quality of active listening, that can help you in many ways. This quality can help you in many ways. Okay? Now, so many people come to our temple and they talk with the monks with their problems and about their family problems, the problems in the workspace. And there's one thing that they all say, and that is, they say, they are not listening to me. They are not willing to pay attention to me. They cannot understand me. That is one thing that they say. So, if you have the art of active listening, if you practice the art of active listening, you will be liked by many people, right? People always like to talk with someone who is paying more attention to them, right? If you consider about the Buddha, Buddha was a great listener. At one time, one man comes up to the Buddha and he starts insulting him, right? He starts blaming him. All through that incident, the only thing that Buddha did was he listened to that person, right? He paid a good attention to that person. And in another time, one lady comes with her son died on her hand. And she was wailing and she was lamenting in front of the Buddha. And the only thing that the Buddha did was, he paid attention to that lady's suffering. Right? He listened to that lady's suffering. So, if you can practice this art of active listening, if you can listen more and talk less, people will start to like you. Remember that. For an example, if you come up to me, right? If you wanted to talk about a problem that you are having in your life, and from the beginning of the conversation, if I started to give you instructions and give you the advice and my opinions about that problem, what would you feel? You will start to think like, this monk cannot understand me. He's not willing to pay attention to me. He's not willing to listen to me. So, practice this art of active listening. So how can we practice the listening? Well, the Buddha said that all the words that we speak from our mouth is pre-processed in our mind. That means we think first all these words and then we put it into our mouth and we speak. So if we can be mindful about what we think, what is going on in our mind, then it is very easy to control what you speak. And then it is very easy to know when to speak and when not to speak. So this practice is called, being mindful about the thoughts is called Cittanupassana in Buddhism, right? For that, the only thing that we have to do is like just sit in a quiet place and just watch our thoughts, what comes to our mind. We don't want to react with that thought. We don't want to chase behind that thought. Just identify the thought as just a thought. That is one practice that you can practice to be a good listener. And also, there's another way to practice this listening ability is to engage in conversations and try to listen more to that person. So, in the next conversation that you're having, try this out. Go to someone, and if they wanted to talk with you, just from the beginning of the conversation, tell it to yourself that I'm going to listen to this person more. I'm going to pay attention to this person more. That is one way of paying and showing your love and affection to the person that is in front of you, right? That is why lending a good ear and listening to someone and sharing their suffering or problems with them is one way of showing your compassion and love towards them. Okay? So in the next conversation, when you go through that, just listen more to them. Let them put out what is in their mind. And when they go silent, and then you have to ask some more questions. Tell me, how did you do that? Right? How it happened? Right? Tell me more about the details that happened. Then they will be more interested in talking with you and they will start to like you and love you. When you practice this, then you will get used to this active listening. Okay? And also remember, do not listen to someone just to reply to them or just to give your opinion to them. Always listen to people to understand about their situation, to understand who the person behind these words, and to understand the intention behind these words. When you do that, then you will become an active and a good listener, and then you will be liked by many people. So that is all about the active listening. Be mindful about your thoughts and listen more than you talk. Keep that in your mind. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the concept of karma according to Buddha's teachings. Now, when you hear the word karma, the first question that comes to your mind is, what is karma? What is the meaning of this word? Well, if you take a look at the definition of karma, it gives the meaning of action, right? But in Buddhism, it is more than action. The Buddha said it is intentional action is the karma. In Nibbāna Sutta, Buddha explains this as Cetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami, cetayitva kammang karoti, kayena vachaya manasa. Monks, I say that intention is the action, or intention is the karma. And intentionally or willingly, one performs actions or karma either physically, mentally, or verbally. That means that intention, cetana, or the intention, plays a greater role behind our karma. Now, according to the intentions, the karma can be divided into two types. Buddha said there are kusala karma and akusala karma, wholesome actions and unwholesome actions, right? Now, what is wholesome action? They are the actions, they are the things that we do with wholesome intentions, right? Like we do certain things with wholesome intentions like love and kindness, compassion, patience, serenity, right? when we do certain things from our body, speech, and our mind with wholesome actions, wholesome intentions, we generate karmas that are wholesome. And also there's the other side of the karma, that is unwholesome actions. Okay? Now, akusala karma or unwholesome actions is a broader topic, because so many people think that akusala karma is something that is bad when it comes to unwholesome actions, right? Akusala karma is not only bad, but also there's another hidden meaning behind this. And that is, there are certain things, there are certain actions that we perform during our day-to-day life, right? They're the things that we do in day-to-day life, like talking and writing and like sleeping and traveling. We need actions and we need intentions to do this. Intentionally we do all the actions. But they're not certainly unwholesome. So the meaning of akusala karma means the actions that do not fall under the wholesome actions or kusala karma. Of course, there is the unwholesome actions or the bad karma or the evil karmas that we do, and also there is other neutral karmas that we perform during our day-to-day life. So they are called the unwholesome actions, right? So based on the intention, the karma can be divided into two different parts, and they are wholesome actions and unwholesome actions. Kusala karma and akusala karma. Okay? And the word karma does not come alone. It comes with this word vipaka or phala, right? Vipaka, the word vipaka gives the meaning of result or outcome. And the word phala gives the meaning of the fruit. Okay? Now the word phala is a great word to understand about the law of karma. Let's understand about it in this way. Let's say I planted a mango seed on the ground. In few years' time, what do I get? I can have mangoes, right? And also, if I planted a chili seed, in few months' time, what can I get? I can get chili, right? So, when we plant something, a seed, it has the potential to give the result in the future, right? If I planted a mango seed, that mango seed has the potential, it has the ability to generate mango fruits in the future. Okay? Same like that. If I did a certain karma in this moment, right? If with an intention, if I perform an action in this moment, it has the potential to create a series of experiences in the future, whether it is good or bad, right? So remember, the vipaka is the effect that we are going to get in the future, right? Now, this whole idea behind this law of karma is the law of cause and effect. When we make the conditions for something, then we are going to get the results out of it in the future. Now, the nature of the results highly dependent on the nature of the karma that we perform today. Let's understand about this in this way. Now, I planted the mango seed, right? That mango seed had the power to generate mangoes in the future, right? But if I wish this mango seed to give chilies in the future, no matter how hard I wish, I will never get chili out of it. I get mangoes because it has the nature of generating mangoes. Same like that, right? If I did an action with an intention, it has the power to generate the experiences or the vipakas in the future. So if the nature of this karma that I am performing today has the intention of wholesome, or if I did with a pure mind, a pure intention, it can generate desirable experiences in the future, desirable results in the future, because that is the nature of this seed of karma. In the same way, if I did something unwholesome with an unwholesome intention, I will get unwholesome or undesirable experiences in the future, because it has the nature of generating undesirable experiences in the future. So this is the whole idea behind the law of karma. Now, why do we need to understand about the law of karma and how karma works? Now, if you had a good understanding about the law of karma and how karma works, it is very easy to be compassionate on others. And it is very easy to be compassionate on yourself. Right? There are certain things and certain experiences that happens due to our past karmas. Right? Now, according to Buddhism, we believe that we are coming from a long journey of rebirth that is called samsara. Now, in this long samsara, we have performed both good and bad karmas. So, in this life, we are going to get some sort of experiences from our past karmas. Okay? So, if you take a look at that, when the tough times comes, when the problems comes to your mind, sometimes people blame to themselves. People hate themselves and think like, I'm a bad person, right? I'm a bad person. I'm a negative person. No, right? Just because you performed a bad karma doesn't say that you're a bad person. Okay? Because each and everyone, we are living in this society, in this world, perform good and bad karma. Okay? So we don't want to hate ourselves. We can be compassionate on ourselves. Right? Everyone is subjected to this law of karma. And also, if you have a good understanding about the law of karma, it is very easy to be mindful and be in this present moment. Why? Because sometimes we worry about the things that has happened in the past, right? We worry about the things that we have done in the past. And we think like, oh, I did this thing and my whole life is ruined, right? Of course, you cannot change the past, right? That is the truth. You cannot change the past. And also, you cannot stop the outcomes of the things that you have done in the past, or the results or the vipakas that you have done in the past. Okay? You cannot change it. What is within your control and what you can change is this present moment. And if you become mindful about this present moment, then you can create good karma, not the bad ones. So I hope you got a little understanding about the karma and how it works. So until next video, stay happy and stay safe. Namo Buddhaya.